There's that. Do.
Hi, this is Sherry Richards.
And this is Karen Kalmastan.
And welcome to Inspired Good Fat Life, where we explore what it takes to live a modern, healthy life and so much more. Hey.
Hey, Sherry, how are you?
Good. How are you, Karen?
Great to see you.
You too. Happy Monday on this beautiful day.
Absolutely.
So let's just jump right in. Today we're going to kind of talk about a few things that we've been noticing with the COVID-19. And those include, one, the weight gain that many of us are experiencing and what we can do about it.
Right. I know a lot of people are struggling with that myself as well.
Yeah, we heard that from one doctor that the average patient they're seeing, it's 5 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then we're going to also talk about relationships. We're tribal beings and we desire and we really yearn for that connection. And we're going to talk about how one normal guy pushed the connection to the next level through coffee.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. It's fun.
And then also we're going to talk about the role of family traditions and maybe a new one that you could try with your family. But before we start all that, let's talk about what if 2020 was canceled? I know everybody's feeling like maybe it should have been canceled, but I think you and I may have a different take on it.
Right. So what if 2020 is a year we've been waiting for?
Exactly. Well, it's a time to shine light on things that haven't been shown before. Maybe it's a time to reimagine.
But a year that's so uncomfortable and it could be so painful, so scary, so raw that it finally forces us to grow.
Exactly. I have been struggling with this myself, and also kind of in a form of thinking like I want to be able to grow and shine lights on things in a positive way, and how to live that through my life and with other people. And it's fascinating to see how people are coming together.
Great. It truly is. And it's got our attention, right? And so
Right.
it's like a year that's screaming so loud that it's awakening us up from this ignorance that we've been kind of like going in. So maybe the realization that some things have to change, and especially in the last week, it just keeps bubbling up how many things that have been kind of band-aided or glossed over.
Exactly. What I find interesting too is just simple things like even, well, of course, human rights, and even with animals and stuff. Like I almost feel guilty now thinking about, how we've treated animals and people, and we just kind of have to rethink everything. Even like keeping my poor cat in the house all the time instead of letting him be an outdoor cat just makes you think like, like you have to like. Sentient beings need certain beautiful rights for their spirits,
They do. My cat, the feral cat that we adopted, or my husband adopted, I should say, and he hates cats. Here, hold on just a second. Sits with me when I do my morning meditations.
Oh.
He comes and curls up with me. But so what if 2020 wasn't canceled, but rather it becomes one of our most important years of all, where, years from now we look back and say, in 2020, this happened or whatever. I have these memories.
Yes,
almost like
exactly.
where were you when Kennedy was shot, for those of us who are old enough to know that.
Right.
It's a transitioning.
So how do you think? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering, how are you seeing, what has been the most profound thing for you as far as, I know for me, everyone's, saying, oh, 2020 should be canceled. 2020 is not that great. But for me, I want to just start saying every day when we wake up, Happy New Year, right? We have to look at this as new and a new day. And how can we make this a Happy New Year in a time of transformation?
Right. And there's so many examples of such amazing things that have happened in dark times. right?
Exactly.
So it's so for one of for us is because we haven't been able to go visit our grandchildren, we FaceTime with them every day and read stories. So
That's
we read
awesome.
their bedtime stories to us, and that's been really fun for Grandpa Bob and I to do with the kids. And it's also really connected us to kids' books, and we both share a real passion for reading, so we get to share that on a daily basis. That's a cool thing. How about
Yeah,
you?
I think something that's been great for us, for my family and I, my kids and I, we've been kind of looking at our house differently, like an adventure. Like we set a tent up in the front room and we go sit in there and have different adventures or do stuff outside. Just kind of make our environment different and try to see it in a different light and make it more fun and fascinating.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
because we
that.
have the time to do it, and it's
Or
not like, oh, let's go buy something. It's like, let's make do with what we have, right?
yeah, or let's, and that's another thing that's really home for me too, is that relationship. It's about the adventure, the experience, and not the stuff. It's just
Exactly.
like I just don't want stuff. I want to spend my time and my resources, my time and my money on having experiences.
Yeah, and just to be with people and see their beautiful faces and to be near them, that just is so important. And I know in the past we might have said, "Oh, what can we buy to do, or where can we go to get some have some entertainment?" But now it's just like I just want to be in the moment and see beautiful faces and the colors around them and just experience all of it. And we had a bunch of friends over yesterday, and we just had a wonderful time. And it was almost like the colors were just brighter. Like we were just so happy to be together and see each other and just be in the same area. It just felt beautiful and wonderful and warm.
That's no, I love that. That's yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. And so one of the other things for me that's been amazing is I've taken the time to really develop an awareness around food, because we've eaten every meal home since March 1st. And
Wow.
so I've really gotten back into cooking and just being grateful for, so every meal or everything I eat, I make myself. Just stop and appreciate with a grateful heart all the people and the resources, the water, the air, the people that it took to put that salad or that piece of cheese or whatever it is on my plate, right?
Exactly.
It's a huge, huge thing. And by going that awareness, Karen, I've officially lost 4 pounds as of today. So I
That's
feel
great. That's awesome.
so, yeah, so it's helpful.
Yeah. And also too, I think that a lot of times when we eat, we tend to give ourselves too big of portions and not realize that if we just wait a minute and enjoy the food and take in every bite and the color and the smells and wait a few minutes to even see if we're still hungry, find
It
out that you're actually,
not
nice and full. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fascinating. It's been it's but and we'll, like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But before we jump into the snacking, I'd like to just share this is one of my favorite stories, and I think it's really fits with our conversation today. So there's this guy, and he has a caterpillar, and
Hmm.
he loves this caterpillar, and they go everywhere together. And then one day the caterpillar is like, it's time for me to go into my cocoon. So he spins his cocoon, and he's in his cocoon, and the guy's watching him every day. It's like he really misses his friend. And the days go by, and then he notices that there's a little hole starting in the cocoon, right?
Hmm.
And then he can see kind of like some activity, the guy can, and he sees his caterpillar friend really struggling, and the hole's not growing very fast, and he just can't take it anymore, and he gets this pair of scissors and he cuts that cocoon. Well, out drops this lumpy caterpillar, kind of with these two wimpy wings on his back.
Right.
And it's the in the caterpillar world, it's the struggle through the cocoon that then this is true science. It pushes the juices or the transformation up into the wings, that then it's the struggle that makes the caterpillar become the beautiful butterfly.
Oh,
And by being deprived of that struggle, he could never be a beautiful butterfly. He was just kind of a wimpy lumpy caterpillar with wimpy wings. So I've
Oh, I
just
love
always,
that
I
story.
told my kids that story since they were tiny, when they would get, like they would get overwhelmed or discouraged or something. And it would be like, you want to be a beautiful butterfly? Well, this is how it works. So,
Exactly. And the beauty, like you said, is sometimes in the struggle, right? And especially right now, there's so much struggle, but also so much beauty, like
right,
just so much togetherness.
right. It's just part of the process. So with that, so are you ready to jump into some food talk?
Yes, let's talk.
Okay. So one of the things that snacks, so this is like mind-boggling to me. So the average American eats 3 snacks a day that are savory, and when by savory I mean like pretzels, popcorn, or crackers, and
Yeah.
every single day. And then on top of that, they're eating sodas, energy bars, or some other sweet snack on top of that. And this is growing at such a fast pace, and it's growing worldwide, that it's now up to like a $762 billion industry,
Wow.
snacking.
Yeah, I
And
believe it.
right, and but what's happening, and the reason that it's happening, is because people are just getting so busy in their lifestyles that we don't have the time to cook,
It's
to
convenience,
it's
right?
convenience. It's really about convenience, and the snack makers are so good at making them delicious that it tastes good, it's convenience, and we can grab and go. But what's also, this is the other side of it, it's the chronic disease is now the biggest threat to our economic development and our overall health and wellness. And the this is, Karen, this is frightening. One in
Okay.
2 Americans and 1 in 4 teenagers have pre-diabetes or already have diabetes type 2. That's one in
Wow.
two
Of American people?
of American people, right?
Yes.
And so for in teenagers, and I know you've got teenagers, so I'm
Yes.
curious to know kind of what you're seeing around that.
Well, definitely now, especially being the summertime, they tend to, want to snack all day long, and they tend to eat more snacks and less real food, right? So we've tried to make different rules, like put a tiny snack in a bowl, have something healthy, eat something healthy first, and then go for a snack. But definitely, just I've seen just a lack of enjoyment, and just really tasting your food and displaying your food. So that's why I always try to tell the kids, like, no, let's put it in a little bowl with a nice napkin, just put a few pieces and put something else healthy with it. And it kind of slows them down too. And also, I had my kids take a mindful eating course at
Oh,
Brighton Yoga, and they had to take a raisin and try to eat a raisin in 3 minutes, just one little tiny raisin. So they chewed on it and they had to feel it around in their mouth. And they're like, we'll never forget that raisin, Mom. So kind of taught them the lesson, like, you have to slow down a little bit, taste your food. But
tasty,
yeah, we definitely try to buy things in bulk, like nuts and stuff, to put in a bowl rather than having them prepackaged, so we can get a little bit, a little bit
better.
more healthy, a little bit less, a little bit more quality things too.
So, well, and then that's really the key. So, like, the key is awareness, right? So
Right.
you're having them slow down. But what we've used snacks for, this to me is also interesting. So, while snacks were initially used to kind of get us between meals,
Mm-hmm.
and they to satisfy hunger, they now are used to kind of like soothe boredom, emotions, stress, increase certain kinds of nutrition, control weight, or just get quick energy. But then also we use snacks a lot for social events, which is
Exactly.
interesting too, is that, if you're going to a party or you're going to a birthday or a game or something, and then it's like snacking becomes like, um, what's the word? There's no calories in those snacks because it's a
Right.
social event, right?
Right.
Right.
Or what you taste while you're cooking. There's no calories there. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's the other thing I've really learned about myself, is that I taste a lot while cooking. And so I've really been trying to be mindful to just not do that. Um, And I'm sure that that's having a effect as well. A couple hundred calories a day, it has to.
Exactly. And I know too, most parents now carry snacks in their car and drinks for the kids everywhere they go. And in the past, you wouldn't see people with a constant cup in their hand or eating something. But it seems like now, if you don't have a cup in your hand or you're not eating something, it almost seems unusual,
That's a
especially if you're more than a group of two people together.
Wow, that's it. Yeah, you're right. That's a really interesting observation. So, and it's, I also find that snacking is one of those things that brings on a lot of guilt.
Right.
People have a lot of guilt about how they snack. Like I realized I'm a late night snacker, and I was embarrassed about that. And it's like, what's that about? And so, since being forced to be home and eating better meals, I'm eating a lot more vegetables than I ever ate before, and I'm finding I'm full. And by doing that, the snacks at night don't seem to be as, if I'm honest with myself, I'm not hungry, right? I'm not
Right.
hungry now. I used to be hungry, but I'm really not hungry now. It's more of just a habit. And the last week, I haven't had any snacks at night. And I'm not going to make a judgment around it, good or bad. I'm
Right.
just being aware, right? That's it. I just want to be aware of what it is that's provoking the desire to snack.
What is your favorite go-to snack that might not be the best snack, and what is your favorite go-to snack that's nice and healthy and you feel good about?
Well, my favorite one was popcorn. Well, cheese and
Yeah, I
popcorn.
love cheese and popcorn. Yeah,
Yeah, and both of
and
those,
cheese
and
on popcorn, right?
yeah, or kettle corn. But who's asking, right? So,
Right,
oh
right,
my gosh, but and if you look at those things individually, they're if you buy them right, if you buy them right, you can buy popcorn or make your own popcorn. That's really a healthy choice. But for me, I eat too much of it, right? So
right.
I can't just eat 2 cups. I want to eat 6.
Exactly. So
And
yeah,
yeah. And so, but that's the other thing, that I'm glad you asked that question, because what I'm finding is that if I have if I have an apple around, or like you said, nuts, or vegetables that are already chopped up, if I buy them already chopped, then I'll eat them, right? But
right.
if I buy a head of cauliflower or broccoli, I'm not going to chop it up. But if I buy it already done, then I'll eat it.
Yeah. So that's good. Again, you're just being aware and you're figuring out your food story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's and eggs, having hard boiled eggs around, those are a great snack. And who doesn't love deviled eggs?
Right.
Those are so it's just it gets back to being aware, that awareness thing.
Exactly. And then also, don't deprive yourself of something that you want. Don't look at it like as a punishment. Look at it as maybe a reward, or and don't, if you have more than a snack than you wanted to, you don't have to throw the whole day away. Oh well, I messed up now, I might as well eat. You kind of just
Exactly.
go move on and
Yep.
keep it at that. Yep.
Yep. Okay. Or go for a walk, get a couple extra calories burned off or something.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's that awareness thing. It's really making a huge difference for me.
And I think
So,
too, like vegetables, the crunchiness, just having that experience of crunchiness, or with nuts, that also helps add a dimension where you feel more fulfilled. Like, and it kind of tricks your mind and your body that you've maybe had more food, or you know what I mean, or it was maybe a chip instead of a carrot, but you still get that
yeah,
satisfaction
and
crunch.
well, and to your point, there's been a lot of studies that shown that it's the crunch for lots of us. It's the crunch that is the satisfying thing. So you're right, to eat celery or something crunchy really does make a difference.
Right.
So yeah, so there's just I think it's just asking people, to your point, we don't have to change everything, but change, just if we can make a couple little changes, it does make a difference.
Right. Like, buy your popcorn in bulk, make it with, what kind of oil do you like to use on your popcorn?
I
So
like
it's,
olive oil.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
that's what.
truffle oil, right?
Yeah, I'll
That's
make it.
good.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
air pop it,
Yeah.
and then yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, but that is such a treat, right? It's
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
mindless. It's such a treat. Yeah. So anyways, well, and I appreciate what a great idea to send your kids to a mindful eating class.
Yeah. They always tease me. They're like, Mom, you paid $50 so we could learn how to eat one raisin.
But I bet they'll be talking about it
Yeah.
20 years from now, right?
Yeah. I'm like, put it in your memoir, just be
There you
another
go.
crazy thing
Yeah.
Mom made you do. Yeah. I
Yeah.
thought it
So
was fantastic. A mindful, well, you don't hear, first of all, you don't hear mindfulness for children very often. So I thought it was great. And mindfulness around eating,
right,
definitely, and
right.
especially kids that are in my kids' generation, it's totally different, right? Because when we grew up, I don't know how your house was, but you couldn't just go get food all the time. There was certain times, but you just didn't help
Right.
yourself to snacks all the time. So it is a lot different.
No, we were outside all the time. And
Right.
yeah, you came in when you were called, right?
Yeah.
I think they just didn't want those hangry kids around. But
Yeah. And I remember too, like thinking like, I don't remember like, my mom checking in to see if we drank water or all those things. And, who knows if we did or we didn't, we were just outside all day. Like, I don't remember people checking in and go, hey, did you have lunch yet? You just kind of happened, or you got called in, but you didn't definitely go in and just help yourself.
no,
No.
you didn't. Well, good. So that's hopefully we got some good ideas. And like I said, I've lost 4 pounds. So
That's
I
awesome.
feel just by, being aware. So that on that happy note, how about if we, switch over and talk a little bit about relationships?
Okay.
Um, let's talk about family traditions. I love the story that you're about to share.
Yeah. So first, one of your friends, Lori Burns, she wrote the article, and I just wanted to read this quote from Mother Teresa that it's under the heading of transforming family traditions. It's not how much we give, but how much love we put into giving, and that's Mother Teresa. So this is a beautiful article. She writes about tradition she had with her dad and doing things different during the holidays. And her father every year would write a letter to people. And Sherry, you said you do this too. You do the letter.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll cycle back after you explain the
Yeah.
tradition.
He would write a personal note, and he would give the money. He'd write it on like $100 bill if you were 18 or over, or 15. If you were 18 or below, it would be a Chris $50 bill, and he would write a note. And he would carefully take his time and write these gifted letters, and the expression would be an encouragement or affirmation and something you could predict, on the money. And also he did it for their siblings. And is there something like that you do for your kids?
Well, the other piece of that is that he would require, so they would get a crispy $100 bill, and the letter,
Right.
and then he would require that they spent the money. When they spent the money, they didn't have to spend the money, but when they spent it, it had to be 100% on them. It
Right.
couldn't be to pay a bill or to buy a present for somebody else. It had to be something for them, and they could save it until they got enough money to buy whatever. But it was really about, there's two things about um, acknowledgement, right? Him
Right.
really taking the time to acknowledge them and the gift, but also about their ability to receive the gift. And so what she said is that, that over the years that they've all come, they can't wait to get their crispy um, $100 bill, but it's really about the letter. It's the
Right.
message that their dad and grandpa is conveying to them. And yeah, I started doing that. When I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, I started doing that this year with my kids and my grandkids. And selfishly, it makes it really easy, right? What are you
Right.
gonna give?
Right.
But the other side of it, it really takes time to write a thoughtful letter um, to my children and my grandchildren. And so what for my grandkids, I'm going to make them into a book. So then when, I'm no longer here, they'll have those years of
Oh, that's
letters
beautiful.
that are me getting to reflect on watching them grow up as they're becoming the people that they are, et cetera. But
And I like how he did take the time and to help them be good receivers too, right? And they probably think about it every year, like what will I spend that on? What experience is he giving me? Not only the letter, but what will I do with that money? It gives it all just much more of an awareness and a deepness, and just realize the love that's spread around like that.
right. And when something is a bill, like a $50 bill or $100 bill, it's hard to cash, right? It
Right,
just is. And so you're really mindful what you're using the money for. Because, like, to
right.
your point, so there's so much thought that's in that gift on the giving and the receiving side of it, which I just absolutely love. So I think it's a wonderful tradition. And like I said, I started it this year with my family, and everybody cried. I cried. We all cried. And
Yeah, I definitely am going to do something to that effect too. And we kind of started this tradition in our garage when we had first moved in. The people that lived there before us, they wrote stuff on their garage walls, like when they had people over and stuff. So we kind of started this new tradition. When people come over and they go in the garage, they'll measure themselves, like even the adults, and they'll put their name and their height, because that's what kids have been doing in the house this whole time. And
right.
then, or write something about the quarantine. Or yesterday, people just wrote little things. Thank you for having us over. But it's just kind of a nice way to, every time we drive in the garage, we get to see all these beautiful, thoughtful things that we did. And it's part of our tradition now. And we always look
I,
for people's heights and stuff.
Karen, I love that. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
So yeah, so okay, so I've got to figure out how to get that into our house too. I love that, right? It just
Yeah.
is. This time is just such a reminder of the gift of human connection.
Yeah, and right now we have like a whole wall of quarantine, the mark off, like with the 4 and then the 5 slash. So we have a whole wall like that, but then it's just funny, silly stuff that we've written, or congratulations, or so you might, I think somewhere it says always kiss me goodnight, just cute little things like that. So you
Oh,
feel it when you come into the garage.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's a nice reminder. So 2 years from now, if the world is different again, you can remember those. You see that, right?
Oh, it's just
Yeah.
already just with the how you could tell on the quarantine wall how we were almost writing it like it was a sad thing, but now it's turned into like a funny thing, and all the days, and so we're drawing it, and so it's just documented it.
What what a great, I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So that kind of leads us into our last story that we kind of wanted to talk about it, and it's called 50 Cups of Coffee. And so I was at a presentation workshop, and Ryan Pinot has this workshop in Brighton, and I mean, he goes all over the country, but it's intense, and it's really good for learning to get better at presentations. And I met one of the trainers. His name is Bobby Audley, and he started talking about this thing that he does. It's 50 Cups of Coffee Challenge. And as we've been saying here, the important thing about all of this is we've just become how just become so much more mindful about how relationships are everything.
Right.
And I'm not just talking about relationships with other people, but relationships with ourselves. So,
Yes.
in the in the previous world, we were all going like such crazy people, that it was easy to not even pay attention to what was going on with ourselves, right?
Yes, just
It's
kind of
just
on autopilot.
right, kind of just get through the next. Even though we enjoyed it, we still didn't have time because we were moving so fast. So one of the things that Bobby did is he wanted to make more connections with people. And so he made it a goal, a challenge to have 50 cups of coffee over the next year. And he does this now for a couple of years, over the next year with a new person. And so the kind of the rules is that you identify your list of people that you want to meet, and it could be people that you want to meet, or somebody that you're acquainted with, or maybe somebody that you already know but you don't really know them.
Mm-hmm.
And so just invite them to have a cup of coffee, and so then you introduce what the goal is and let them know why you want to connect. And it's really just, I just love to hear your story, and just I admire you and would like to know more about you, right? So for
Yeah,
people it's often just a story away from having a deeper connection.
yeah. Also, too, it opens up your friend group, and you realize how much you have in common, and like you said, deeper connection with people, and just getting to know people that you normally wouldn't take the time to. I think it's lovely.
Right. Well, and so it's so I started doing it. I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I realized I did a lot of it naturally, but then I can be kind of an inverted person too, um, and not step into that. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to be mindful and I'm going to do this. And it really becomes almost a way of being.
Yeah.
It's, because when you get to, so I started learning all these, how many amazing people there are out there just in my own world, right?
Yeah.
That I some of it I knew, but lots of it I didn't know. And so yeah, it's another way. And I've heard people in this pandemic, meeting in parking lots,
Right.
just
Yeah. That's beautiful.
here, I'll bring you a cup of coffee and let's just have a conversation in a parking lot. If you don't.
Yeah. Or go for a walk or something, right?
Absolutely. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out because I think I just found it to be a wonderful way to get to know people, maybe in ways that you wouldn't. And who knows, there's lots of amazing stories out there. And, with Good Fat Life, we want to be able to tell those stories.
Exactly. And
So,
maybe now's a good time to reimagine who you might have coffee with to get a different perspective on things, like
right,
really think about that, and keep the list going.
right, right. So, I mean, actually, if you think about it, that's kind of how we met, right?
Yep.
You we had and you invited me to coffee.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yep.
So,
And here we are.
and
Yep.
here we are, exactly. So, this podcast wouldn't have been possible without the start of that conversation. So you just don't know. So anyways, so I'm just going to kind of throw that challenge out to, our listeners, to say, hey, who are 50 people I'd just like to get to know better.
Yeah. I'm all for it. And maybe we can check in and talk about some of the coffee dates we
Okay.
have had or will have in the future, who we plan on asking, or was it the list easy for you to do? Was it like, oh, I have more than 50 people I need to talk to? Or did you have to reach a little bit, or?
I think it's like anything. At first, it's like, I don't know where to start. But once I started just thinking, just kind of you start going through, I sing in the choir,
Mm-hmm.
and how many of those women do I know, or have I even had a conversation with? You walk in, you sing, you go home. I mean, so if we, and then my networking group, business networking group. Well, how many people have I really sat down and had a conversation with? And maybe I did 3 years ago, but what's happening with them today? So no, I mean, once you start doing it just, all of a sudden, you're right, your list is longer. It'll take 5 years to get through the list.
Yeah. And have you had anybody be hesitant about it and go, oh, like not sure of your intent or anything like that? Or were they kind of like, oh, just felt flattered? Because I think it'd be very
No,
flattering.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah. And I think we all on some level, and I think it's also how you approach it, and being mindful of people's time and respectful as well too. I'm not going in asking for anything
Yes.
other than to get to know them better. And so that's all. Yeah.
I think it's so important right now too, is just the knowing, right? The knowing and awareness and just getting to know people. And the more we know, the less fear we have, and kind of
Right.
just goes all back into
Right. It just, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. No, that's a great point. And I work with the National Arab Orchestra, and that's one of the things that. So I'm exposed to a community that I hadn't been exposed to before, and so as you get to know people, you realize everybody's kind of like all the same.
Yeah. And I think too, another thing to consider is we tend to hang out with people in our own age groups for the most part, but we should also consider having coffee with people of all different ages. So
Absolutely,
elderly, young people, even, somebody's 10-year-old, like find out what's going on with tween girls. It's important to talk to all ages, all walks of life.
that is an excellent point. Thank you for that. You're right. I'll definitely incorporate and review my list again too. So that's great.
Yeah, I
So
definitely realized I don't have enough older friends. Everyone's around my age or younger because, my kids and stuff. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why I never considered not having older friends. But now I'm like, oh, I welcome it. I want to have people of all ages. And
right. No, and I realize I don't have as many younger friends because our kids are grown, and
yeah,
they didn't grow up here, so we don't have their friends as families around here too. So that is a great point. I love that. So if we look back over just kind of some of the things that we've said that might help people embrace 2020 and let it be an amazing year. It's look at your snacking. Just be aware of the snacking that we do, right?
right.
Right.
Take
And
the
look at
time.
take the time to to develop our relationship with food in a different way. And maybe look at some different traditions, like you talked about,
Yes.
whether it's a holiday or whether it's just, coming into your garage. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And then also maybe, deliberately making it a intention to get to know all different kinds of people on a different level. So
Yeah, and maybe even think about 3 questions you want to ask each person just to find the commonality in people too. I'm gonna have fun with this.
yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna do a little question thing, and I'm gonna always have 3 questions I ask everybody the same, and then different for each individual. But I want to see the common theme.
right. That's great. Well, good. So I think that we're good for today. Anything else you want to add?
That's it. It's been great spending this time with you, Sherry. Thanks to all our listeners, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
See you next week. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
This has been Karen Kalmasian
And Sherry Richards.
Thank you for joining